used to, before games and before training, we'd always bump into them. But I think for me, my first impression of him is just, like you said, he's quite chilled, he's relaxed. And I think when he first signed at the club, 15 million is an absolute bargain. I think he took a few months to settle in, and that's what generally happens with players that Pep starts to coach and they understand how we play. And that's something that gets thrown through the first team women's, the academy boys. So we have a certain way of playing, and I think that confidence that you speak about is through everything we do in training, and everybody plays on a similar pitch with lines, with zones, which allow people to visualise where the manager wants you to be. But certainly throughout the club, that confidence is there, but not without hard work and in that togetherness and that real belief.
It's so interesting hearing him speak as well about not having played 3 games in the same position, and that's how you have to be so versatile, which actually makes it so scary when you're going into this season. Dion, can you see anyone knocking them off their perch?
Knocking them off their perch, I don't think so. I think Arsenal get even closer again because I like the way they go about their business, and their points tally keeps getting better and better and better. And so I'm thinking Arsenal. Liverpool will be embarrassed because they've not been involved for a long time. Man United have been way off it as well. So. And Chelsea, there's so many clubs nearby, but knocking them off it, I'm not quite sure.
But I suppose when you are looking at it, they still have the charges hanging over them, which the Premier League says may be resolved this season.
Yeah, this is maybe next season. They have that issue to get out the way, so they can just go, right, that's done.
Yeah.
It's hanging over them at the moment. Whether it's going to affect the players, I don't know.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Arsenal, so let's continue down that one. Everyone are talking about Arsenal improving once again this season. They've managed to do that the last 4 seasons, but no team has improved in the 5th season on their points. Do you think you can see them doing it, Steph?
I actually do. I think in terms of what Arsenal have done this summer, in terms of the signings that they've made, I think defensively that was probably an area where they need a bit of cover. I think Timber coming back from his ACL injury, I think that's what they need to strengthen to be able to rotate the team. It's going to be a long season again, especially with Champions League football, but I do feel as though that gap will get smaller. I think I love the way that Arsenal play and what Arteta has done over these last 3 or 4 years. I think what he's done is really special, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this season. I think it's going to be so exciting.
It's when it's going to be, isn't it? It's when someone's going to knock them off their perch, and I think the only team that really are close is Arsenal.
Okay, first day back at school, so
yes.
You've done your homework.
Yes, no choice. No choice. We've got the
predictions. Predictions. What way you think the top half of the table are going to be looking? So Dion, Manchester City. You've gone Arsenal, Liverpool. So kind of same along lines last.
Yeah, more or less similar teams in there as well. It's hard to call. We haven't really seen them play as yet, but from what we see,
down in 6.
Yeah, I think I think there'll be other teams that possibly improve more than them. I hope they end up in the top 4, but it's going to be a push for them. But yeah, I think there'll be the teams in and around the top 10 most definitely.
And Steph, you've gone with Tottenham in 4.
Yeah, mainly because I think Postecoglou, another season of the players knowing what he does and the methods, but also Villa have got Champions League football this season, so how do they cope with the size of their squad? I mean, I know they've made an additions, they've spent a lot of money this summer, but I think to be playing every 2 or 3 days compared to once a week, it could potentially make a difference. But I think they'll be up and around there, but I think Tottenham will probably come on a little bit, especially with the likes of Dominic Solanke coming in and having that focal point for them to go and play, and for the likes of Son and Maddison to play off him.
Okay, let's take a look at last season and actually the signings that have come in from that top 4 clubs, and see how impressed you've been with the business they've done so far, Dion.
You know what? I just sometimes I look at players that come in and I think, right, brilliant, really good quality players, and I think, well, how many have you brought in, and how are they going to bed it? I mean, Forest had that problem with bringing in too many players, and I think you bring in a few amount of players and you bed them in how you see fit.
Is it when you look at Aston Villa and the amount that they've signed, it's because of the Champions League football, not wanting it to
exactly what
affect?
Steph just said. It's the size of the squad, but it's not just the size, it's the quality of player that you have, and maybe you have a European team, and then maybe have a league team, or with a goalkeeper you might do the same
thing.
thing.
With Villa, like you look at Ross Barkley, had a great season for Luton last season. Will he necessarily start for Villa? But I think he can come in and do a really good job, and he's got experience in the Premier League as well.
Yeah, I think there's quality there. It's just managing it right, coaching it right, keeping players happy.
Yeah.
You can bring loads of players in, but you've got to keep them happy, because if they're not playing, they'll let you know.
They sure will. Well, Ipswich Town are back in the top division of English football after an absence of 22 years. Liam McDevitt has been to East Anglia ahead of their return.